Hello. So I just wanted to come on and do a bit of a roundup really of the last 4 weeks and sort of talk a little bit about the ethos of what we've been working towards. So, yes, this program has been sort of geared towards releasing weight and all of that kind of stuff, but this is almost like this program is like a prelude to that. It's about starting to get the daily routines in place that are going to help to calm your nervous system, because when we have a calmer nervous system, we can think straight, which leads to us making better choices, not just around food but generally in our lives. When we feel calmer, it's almost that moment where we don't get sucked in to that chain of events, because that's what happens when we're triggered. We get sucked into a chain of events, a sequence of thoughts and feelings that tie into our belief system, and these cycles just go round and round and round until we realise that they're happening. And that's kind of what we've been building on over the last 4 weeks. So this is almost like setting the foundations for what will then become a better way of eating, a more stable way of eating, but also your nervous system being calmer and therefore it not holding on to weight for protection or whatever reason it's holding on to weight. So over the last 4 weeks, we have done some suggestion therapy around food and eating and movement and stuff like that, but more importantly, the work that we've done with the inner and outer child is fundamental, and the higher self as well. These are the key components to your continuation of settling your nervous system and eventually seeing some shifts in your eating patterns, which I'm sure you already are, seeing some shifts in how you're feeling and how that then translates into your eating patterns and also the releasing of weight. So inner child work is the fundamental part of this. This is recognizing and connecting with your inner child on a daily basis, because that is the part when life kind of gets a bit complicated, whether that's in our relationships, in our work, with our families, or just our own internal belief system. When we have those emotional shifts, that's like the start of the chain of events. So we have this emotional shift, which then gets us into overthinking. The overthinking then makes our feelings feel even bigger, and that's when our nervous system stays in this like almost permanent state of fight or flight, but also that's when we're reaching for food or other unhealthy coping mechanisms. So connecting with your inner child is that moment of pause, and you've now got this beautiful technique of checking in with her throughout the day. So the more you do this, the more you put your hand over your heart and you just do that check-in. It's almost like, I've said this, it's like a pendulum. And when we're nice and centered, we can deal with things in our lives much easier. So that moment of like taking that deep breath in, calm and relaxed, and almost imagine that pendulum coming back to center, that is about interrupting the inner child moment of panic, which then triggers the outer child. And when outer child is in control, that is when we are not thinking from our adult, rational, calm self. And that's when we're more likely to engage in some instant gratification behaviors. So this is why being proactive and throughout the day, you taking that moment to check in with your inner child, to recenter yourself, to keep yourself in a place of calm throughout the day. Because what happens as we go through our day is we collect emotional stamps. For those of you who might have heard me talk about this, for those of you who remember Green Shield stamps back in the day, I suppose Tesco Club Points, Club Cards are the modern day equivalent. We go through our days and we collect these little emotional stamps and we don't do anything with them. So it's not even just the day, we've got weeks and years of these emotional stamps that we've been collecting and we've done nothing with them. And they're all inside us like bubbling away. And as with Green Shield stamps, what we used to do when we had like a few bookfuls, we'd go and cash them in for a tea set or something. And so that's exactly what we do in our lives. We collect these stamps and we just keep going through our lives, and then something will happen and we cash them in. And for some people that will be we eat something, or we have a drink, or we have an explosion, but then we kind of go back to collecting the stamps again. And so this interruption, this kind of hand over heart throughout the day is about starting to process some of those stamps. So you're taking the time to just check in at periods throughout the day, every hour or every couple of hours, to just center yourself, to give your emotional center some time and attention. And the more proactive you can be with this stuff, the less of those outer child reactions we're going to have. So the fundamental work going forward, ladies, is to remember inner child. The healing comes through the inner child. So the hand over heart, the more you learn the technique of being able to settle your nervous system down through the day, then when something does happen, guess what happens? That becomes your go-to, your moment of pause, the moment of pause between emotional trigger and response. So at the moment we have that trigger and we react because these patterns are so ingrained, and what we want is we want to have, like, recognize when we are pulled into something, take that moment of calm to calm ourselves down, to sort of almost like break the outer child getting involved. So we as the adult self want to connect with the inner child, calm her down, and then our conscious mind can think rationally. It's such a straightforward process. The hardest thing is remembering to do it, right? So this is like the proactive. The more proactive you are with things like listening to your hypnotherapy recordings, which I'm going to put all of the 4 recordings that we've done into the group. Also in the VIP community that I've put you all in now, there's going to be a weekly meditation session in there as well. So, and also go and find some that, you know, that are relevant for you. You'll all have own individual things that are going on in your lives, whether that's stress or relationships. Go and find some meditation recordings that you can listen to, because it's as much about taking that time out, that 15 or 20 minutes time out for self-care that settles our nervous system, that is as much as what's being said in those meditations. So thinking proactively. Okay, we sometimes look at things and we want to fix the problem, but actually by going upstream, I love, that's my favourite saying, stop pulling people out of the river, let's go upstream and find out where they've fallen in. The more you can engage in activities that are going to keep your inner child, your emotional centre nice and calm, the less you're going to have these emotional chain of events, i.e. the outer child responses and reactions to things. So this is kind of the work in a nutshell, guys. The more you can connect with your inner child, the more every morning you can step into your ideal self. Okay, your ideal self is your higher self. This is your internal wisdom. You have your own answers. But when you're stuck in inner and outer child driving the bus of life, it's really hard to actually access the higher self and know what intuitively is right for us. So making space for the ideal self. So keep stepping into your ideal self, keep stepping into this part of you that already is doing the things that you want to be doing, because you intuitively know what is right for you. So the more you can connect with inner child and keep her nice and calm, the more you connect with your ideal self by stepping into her every morning. And you can really expand on that. You know, if you've got something specific going on in your life, as you step into her, ask her advice. Ask for her advice on whatever that matter is, and listen to what intuitively comes. You know, these are really beautiful techniques that don't take hardly any time. All they take is remembering to do them. So what we want to achieve here is like keeping the outer child in her sort of healthy way. So by now you should have all given her a new role. And so something you can start doing every day is when you've sit on the bench, do some self-hypnosis, take yourself onto the bench, have inner child there, have outer child there, have your higher self there, all working together in harmony. And every day check in with inner child. How is she feeling? What does she need? You know, the thing is about life, you know, the people around us don't always give us what we need. You know, I love Gary dearly, but bless him, you know, he doesn't always, he's not able to give me what I need sometimes emotionally. You know, he's so wrapped up in his own little world, and I love him. It's not about, you know, I love him for that and I accept him for who he is, but sometimes he doesn't give me what I need, and I have to give that to myself, or I have to go and be around people who can give that to me. Otherwise I find myself, I get frustrated. There's a lot of traits about Gary that are very similar to my mum and dad. You know, my mum and dad worked all of the time, and I felt very invisible, and Gary at times can slip into that, and I can find that triggers my inner child. And so I have to then like calm myself down, because it's an illusion a lot of the time. Yes, I can make that fit if I want to, but I then make sure that at times when he's busy, that I'm making sure I meet my need for connection in other ways. Part of why I'm doing more in-person networking and stuff now, and starting to go on holidays again with friends and stuff like that, because it's too much to rely on one person in our lives to meet our needs, you know, and part of that is us meeting those needs as well, if that makes sense. So this is the work, guys, you know, and the more you focus on settling your inner child, recognizing when outer child is on a bit of a rampage. So if you have a day where your eating seems a bit off, okay, be curious about it. Don't judge it. Is this an outer child reaction? Is she just going back to some old behaviors? What is it that you're missing with the inner child? What is it that you're not addressing? What is it that inner child is trying to tell you that you're masking with the eating? This is like curiosity. This is where we really start to gain a lot of understanding and insight into our eating patterns. Okay, so two sides to like the eating side of things, really starting to become aware if you have a day where your eating's a bit off, what is it that you're not listening to with regards to the inner child, but also like weight release generally. You know, the more you work on keeping yourself centered and calm, the more you connect with inner child, and that will stop the outer child going into her old ways of protecting. And the more you do that, the more your body is likely to release the weight that you're holding on to. So what else do I want to talk to you about? I'm going to put all the hypnotherapy recordings in one place in this group, so you've got access to all of those. And also by now you should have all been invited to the ongoing VIP community. That's my gift to you guys for supporting me in the early days of running these courses. So it'll be lifetime access for you guys for free. All I ask is come in and be as supportive as you can in there, and I know you will be. And also I really want to build a community, so maybe some of you could actually come in and do some training at some point, but we'll talk about that at a later date. So we're all going to get together in a few weeks anyway, and I will be putting like a weekly how's it going post, so we can just stay connected. But do feel free to post anything you're noticing. If you've got any questions, like I say, my inbox is always open, so if there's anything you want to talk through, then do reach out. But I look forward to, I have asked you for some feedback. If you could give me some feedback on the course, it's always helpful to know what's worked well, what's not worked so well, what would you add in, what would you take out, and also some if you've got the moment to do like a couple of minute video testimonial, that would be awesome. So see you all very soon.